All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Rob at Smirking Gun Reviews, and after a hot minute, it's been about a month or so since we finished wrapping up rewatching and reviewing all the seasons of The Man in the High Castle. We have finally gotten to the new season that's premiered on Amazon at midnight. So we have season 3. We're starting season 3 finally. So just for anybody that's new to the channel, I did review seasons 1 and 2. I have playlists on the channel if you're marathoning that, or if you want any recaps or reviews, or if you need any context for anything that happens in the episodes and you need to go back and look. We have all the episodes on there. Also, if you're new to the channel, this show kind of brings out like The Handmaid's Tale. I can get a little rambunctious in these videos sometimes, depending on my emotional state, because this is like The Handmaid's Tale. It can get an emotional response out of me. I'm not overly patriotic, but when I'm watching a show about Nazis and the Japanese winning World War II and taking over America, I kind of consider my relationship with America like America's my younger brother. I give it a lot of shit, and I pick on it a lot. But when somebody messes with it, I get defensive. So it's hard to watch this sometimes. Even though it's a work of fiction, it is still kind of like it gets me like, Nazis. To quote Indiana Jones, I hate these guys. But so anyway, yeah, that's a recap so far of this channel. I'm very honest. So if you are new to this channel, if you're looking for somebody to regurgitate your opinion, you're in the wrong channel. I will call anything out that I don't think makes sense, or if writing's bad or acting's bad. So if you're really overly sensitive to critiques, then this probably shouldn't be something you watch. Also, this show should not be watched by veterans of World War II. If there are any World War II veterans, the older gentlemen that won the war, this would be a hard show for them to watch. Even knowing it's a work of fiction, watching a show where the Nazis and the Japanese took over the country would probably be upsetting, and not in like a good way. When you watch something and you get a little upset. So if you really can't handle a sensitive subject like this, I wouldn't recommend it. So anyway, this is episode 1. There will be full spoilers. We will be covering every episode of the season. I am not binge watching this. I'm going to be doing probably 2 or 3 videos a day of this show. So it'll take me into next week to finish it, probably, because I will be balancing this and season 3 of The Expanse and other things that I want to put on the channel. So Walking Dead comes on Sunday, so there's going to be a lot on this channel besides The Man in the High Castle this weekend. So anyway, let's just jump into this. Okay, so episode 1 is called Now More Than Ever, We Care About You. Yeah. I just love Nazi propaganda that, is supposed to sound friendly, but still has that undertone of, we'll fuck you up. So anyway, the cold open here, I assume, is from like a near future where Juliana ambushes a group of Nazis out in the neutral zone. That's all they really give us, and I think it must be important. Otherwise, why would they start with this and then go right to the main titles? Which I still fast forward through because I just can't listen to that song over the images of Nazis, like kind of the propaganda newsreels of the Nazis taking the country, like in a nice artistic way. But anyway, so what we have is, let's just start with Joe. I usually try to break down characters here. So Joe and his papa, Martin, they're locked up in a Nazi prison. And Joe's being tortured pretty bad and getting hosed down. He's been in there for quite a while because he's got his beard. And, I give Joe a lot of shit, but it's nice to, because he's not the smartest bulb in the, in the light bulb or whatever. I don't know. So he is paying the price for his father's crimes. He really didn't have anything to do with it. But you know how Nazis are. It's his dad, so they lock him both up. But they are also not just torturing him; they're preparing him. They are trying to make his heart of steel, or whatever, however they put it. And you can tell that this is like, yeah, his dad's done, but they're preparing him for something greater because Smith likes him, and I'm sure that the other guys have not completely blamed him. They want to see if they could save him. They can't save his dad. They can't. He's done for. And that's proven by when they finally think Joe is prepared, they force him to execute his dad. And that was, it's, of course they did. I think, I don't know. He seemed to like jump from not giving a shit about his dad to caring about his dad, and then finding out his dad is going to blow everybody up. And then, he has a hard time shooting him. Now, I understand having a hard time shooting him. It's a hard time. It would be hard to shoot anybody. But for the dramatic effect of the long hold, crying, I don't know. I just think that just bothered me, but that's just me. I'm sure if I was asked to shoot somebody, I'd probably hesitate too. But maybe it's just when you're in the presence of Nazis and they're waiting for no hesitation, I just feel like the longer you wait, the more that they'll go, well, see how long it took him to shoot his dad? He's a traitor. They don't seem too forgiving or patient with any kind of doubts that they might have in you. So this seemed to be a point where Joe really needed to just be like, I thought that would have been a better choice, but I didn't make the show. So then we get Nicole, who I don't care for. I talked about this last season. I didn't care for her then. I don't care for her now. They give her a job as like the head of like, to be part of the like Ministry of Propaganda, but we'll get more to that later. So Juliana and Trudy. So Trudy, I thought, came from what I'm going to start just referring to as our universe, but it says that in Trudy's world, Juliana was killed. So she couldn't come from our universe. This Trudy comes from another world. So what we're now seeing is that we're not just talking about two worlds, this one and our world. We're talking about multiple realities, multiverse, if you will. I mean, we've got it with with DC and Marvel, and so anybody that's into comic books and stuff should already understand multiple realities and multiverses and things like that. Like all possible realities, choices that people make create a different reality where there's a different you doing different things, all that stuff. But this Trudy, it appears, and they're called travelers when they come here. It appears that she's been here for a long time, and she could go back and forth, it sounds like, but now that she and Juliana have kind of, been around each other, she hasn't been able to go back, and it's starting to affect her physically. So that shows that if you stay here for too long, you're probably going to eventually die. She's been here for like 6 months, I think it said. So she's starting to feel the effects. And that's interesting because, I mean, Tagomi was over in our world, or at least a version that seemed like our world, I guess, for a little while. Not long enough to face those effects. Or, so I'm assuming he'll be okay. The explanation of the films was a pretty nice touch that Abinson has, where they're showing that the very first film that they did, that was like supposed, from The Man in the High Castle, at least they created this thing, was a little work of fiction, that they pieced it all together and people like really liked it. Now what my question is then they said after they made that film, the real films started showing up from other realities by these travelers. And so I guess there is no real man in the high castle. It's just a name they gave to the people that bring all these films over to this reality. And I don't know if it was like out of some sort of solidarity to show that like you could change things. And maybe there is a real man in the high castle, but I mean, it just seems to me like if there's other realities all sending these films, maybe there isn't just one person. Maybe there's one person who set it all up, but anyway. Also, how did they know that, you know, to do this unless there was maybe a traveler already here? And when did this start? Like, that people were coming and bouncing back and forth in different realities. That's what I really want to know about this. It's all well and good that we have this whole story about, you know, Nazis and Japan and us in the middle. But my real curiosity is about, like, what really started the reality jumping. Like, how did they know? What was their goal to this? So, going forward, now, when Abinson tells Juliana that he needs her to, like, basically take his place, that he can't keep going like this, and she doesn't want anything to do with it, right? Then that night, they are set upon by some people that have Abinson and his wife tied up, looking like they're going to kill them. Juliana hears the scuffle and comes downstairs with her gun, and then shoots the intruders, and then Trudy shoots the third one with a double-barrel shotgun, which that was a pretty intense scene. But once I saw the guys in there, and they were killed, and this is just one of my theories because I like to hedge my bets, and there's another one coming up that I'll be talking about too that makes me wonder something, is that, they see the pin, the like upside down like peace sign type of thing that I thought was like in the trailer. We'll get to that. So the same pin that gets pinned on Joe later by the new Fuhrer. So you're supposed to think that those are those guys. And they probably are. But I like to think ahead, okay? So what if, because Juliana said no, what if Abinson set that up to look like, to have people that were willing to die for the cause, tie them up, and force Juliana to kind of make us, you know, a stand. Now, I know it's a leap. It's a leap. But I always like to think of the things that might come as a surprise all of a sudden. Because Abinson is shady. Okay, let's not forget that. He is a shady as fuck dude. To get what he wants. He will go that extra mile to push somebody in the direction that he wants them to go. That being said, I hope it's not that, honestly. But I hope it's more straightforward than that there was somebody on their trail and that they had to get out of there. So they bounce, and Trudy and Juliana go their own way. And they end up meeting this guy, Wyatt. Juliana needs this address for a place in Santa Fe for this person named Aunt Judy. So she meets Wyatt, played by Jason O'Mara, who I really like a lot. I didn't really like that show he had on Fox with the fucking dinosaurs and stuff. But I really liked him on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's a pretty good actor. And see, he's kind of like the guy that can get you things, you know, can find out information, things like that. And him and Juliana start to hit it off and start to make out and everything. And when Juliana comes home and Trudy's having the seizure in the bathtub, that's when she has to make the move to, like, we got to get out of here. And after Abinson had told her that Tagomi's the one that has all the rest of the films that didn't get burned, and if Juliana wants to know what's her future, that's who's going to find out. So they get on a bus to San Francisco. She leaves Wyatt a note, and they start to take off. But as that shot stretches out when they're on the bus, you see this one Japanese lady kind of eyeballing the bus. So it appears that somebody's been keeping tabs on them. So I would bet dollars to donuts that somebody's going to be coming after her, because that shot, why would they linger on that for that long unless it was somebody forgot to yell cut? Now Joe comes to New York, but before that we get like a Gruppenführer knows best scene where Smith comes home and is talking to his daughters about, they're gonna have dinner, and it's so bizarre watching these scenes of Americans Nazified, and being all, it's so normal, and watching it, that's where I start to get a little upset, where I'm just like, fuck. Like, man, I was born 30 years after World War II ended, and I still can't like imagine a world where the Nazis took over and the little girls are like talking about and doing this and Sieg Heil and shit. It creeps me out. Now, what appears here is that Thomas did die at the end of season 2 when he gave himself up to the hospital for the disease he had. And that they're talking about that it's okay to be sad for Thomas and everything. And the mother, she's not happy. She is very upset. And going into what was at the end of season 2, the conflict that they've had, because we know Smith started out as an American soldier. And so over all this time, it has the toll of being a Nazi and once being an American and knowing that your child died believing this crap, and sacrificing his own life, if this wouldn't be what had happened to him if America had won. He might have still died, but he wouldn't have had to sacrifice himself like he did. And so that kind of is stretching Smith and his wife's not just marriage apart, but just their connection to the Nazi party. How far are they willing to go? And I know Smith, he's willing to go far, and that's why I want to just skip real quick to the end of this, just because we're talking about the Smiths. When they go to the thing for Thomas, and you've got that reporter who's asking questions. Now, first off, William Forsyte shows up as a guest star in this, and I automatically go, shit's going to go down, because William Forsyte, when he's in your show, it usually means some bodies are going to hit the floor. And right away, that him and the other guy that is there to speak are looking for dirt on the Smiths. So even though they're there for Thomas's sacrifice, they are looking for dirt and to spread dirt about the Smiths. So there's people with their own agendas, because Smith is like the first American Obergruppenführer, or however you say it. So they're already working against Smith. And then you get this whole thing where they name the high school after their kid. Their daughters are all standing up. They're all saying Sieg Heil. The whole place is going like crazy. And John and his wife are sitting there kind of dumbfounded and like upset that, holy shit, and if you'll notice, they don't do this, and they don't start going Sieg Heil. Now that could just be because they were just overwhelmed and they didn't want to join in, and it wasn't expected of them. But part of me also goes, we didn't see Thomas's body. Now again, I'm hedging my bets here, and it could very well be that Thomas is dead. But Smith loves his family to the degree that he would defy his government. He was going to. He was going to send Thomas on that trip where they would never be able to see him again, but he'd be alive. So I'm not saying Thomas is dead yet. Look, I just wouldn't be surprised in the 11th hour, all of a sudden we find out that Smith got his son out of there, and that he did go to some other country and just didn't tell his wife. Again, it's a leap, but if it happens, I want you to know that I said it. I had to get it out there at least. That I have a thing about it, like maybe he is still alive. Like I said, I didn't see no body. So, I know Joe's dad is dead because Joe shot him in the head, and they showed it to me. So this may be one of those don't show and just give us the information, and we're going to take it. But shows, I think, like to do that to you, to make it so that when all of a sudden somebody just shows up alive again, you go, oh my God, So anyway, Joe comes to New York, and that's when Nicole comes with him, and she's doing her whole German I don't know, flirty thing with Joe that I don't like her. Like when she shows up at the propaganda place and that, okay, those guys, okay, so all of a sudden it's like fucking Mad Men in the Reich. Right? So you got like Nazi Don Draper here trying to talk about their new campaign to help out the Reich, which is like propagation and population, you know, for the Reich, like, you know, have, you know, as she puts it, fucking be fertile. So that was kind of funny. That's the first thing I thought of was Mad Men for the Reich. But she, you know, clearly is only listening to these guys because she wants to be able to throw out that paper and be like, fuck you, you know, I'm taking over because of who my daddy is or my uncle is, you know, another one of these things. And so she's got her plan to film this thing a certain way. And you've got, okay, so now let's jump to Japan, where at the beginning of this episode, I was a little mad because it was like, you're looking at that great landscape in Utah. And then they detonate the nuclear bomb. And I'm like, and you just see that rock formations that have been there for centuries just kind of get, now they don't fall down. But part of me was like, fuck, you guys, those things have been standing forever. And then I had to remind myself of what we did when we were testing nuclear bombs in the, you know, South Pacific. So I guess, you know, karma's a bitch. But now they have bombs, but Tagomi's trying to explain to them that this, you know, trying to keep up with the Nazis is going to, you know, bankrupt them. Keto is there, and him and Tagomi at least are on the same page, kind of, that, you know, this shit with the Nazis isn't over. They're gonna still try to kill us. Keto, in the meantime, also hires a new assistant who is like half Japanese, half American, which, you know, Keto is all, you know, I don't know why they hired him, why this guy's in there if just for dramatic effect. Because when a guy says, I just want to have a chance to, you know, prove myself, they say, you know, that usually means one of two things: that he's going to do something extreme to prove his loyalty, or he's a traitor. So, and then speaking of something extreme, we have the end here where Joe kills Smith's guy that he sent to him with his little new papers to go to San Francisco with the shovel, which was pretty cool. Now you got to ask, was Smith in on that, or is this Joe working on his own? That's a good question, because those two dudes were ready, and Joe clearly knew that this guy was coming for him. But it didn't seem like this guy was killing him, even though Smith said, I want you to be discreet about this. So maybe Smith was trying to kill Joe. I don't know. That's a really good question, though. So we're going to end it there. I'm sure I missed a few things, but oh well. This is a big, dense episode, so if anything, call me out in the comments for anything I missed that you'd like to point out. So if you liked this video, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. As the episodes get on and I get more used to making this series videos again, hopefully it'll be a little more like on track, because I know it's a little all over the place, but that's usually how I do things anyway. So this is Robert Smirking Gun Review saying thank you so much for checking out this video. I'm so happy the man in the high castle is back, and we will see you on the next one.